Hello and welcome. My name's Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. So today we're going to talk about which Cricut machine is right for you. Whether you're thinking about getting your first Cricut or maybe upgrading from the Cricut you have, hopefully this video will help you make that decision. Now I want to point out one thing before we get started. This video is not at all sponsored by Cricut. I wanted to do a video where it's just my opinion about each of the Cricut machines and not sponsored at all. So I always try to keep my sponsored content where it is totally my opinion and I give you the truth every single time. But a lot of people don't believe that if there's a brand behind the video. So this video, completely not sponsored, just on my own to let you know which Cricut machine might be the right choice for you. The holiday season's coming up. Maybe you're shopping for a Cricut machine for yourself or to give as a gift, but which one do you choose? There are now 5 options on the market, so it's getting even more confusing about which Cricut machine might be the right purchase. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the simplest Cricut machine, and that's the Cricut Joy. And I'm going to kind of step my way up, because in my mind you start with the Cricut Joy, you kind of step your way through the Explore series, and then you go to the Maker series. So we're going to start simple with this video, and we're going to kind of work our way up. I'm going to go over each machine and kind of what it does, and what the differences are between it and the other machines, so you can get an idea. And I do want to point out at the very beginning, you can't go wrong with any of these Cricut machines. They all work, they're all amazing. I use them all in my crafting, if you can believe that. But it's just going to depend on like what type of crafter you are and which machine is best for the way you craft or your space or that type of thing. So kind of watch the video, watch about all the machines, and then make a decision for yourself. And feel free, if you get to the end of the video and you still can't decide, drop down in the comment section and tell me what you like to make, what you're going to use your Cricut machine for, what you see yourself crafting in the future, and I'll kind of give you my recommendations as well to help you decide. Now, I will be dropping links to all of the Cricut machines in the description below. If you're on computer, click show more. If you're on mobile, swipe up or look for an arrow that expands the description. In that description, I have a special discount code just for you. So between now and the end of 2021, I have a discount code that gets you 10% off and free shipping on machines. So it's super exciting because most of the time my codes are only good for like materials and things like that. But this time it's good on machines. And it's good on the Cricut machines as well as the Easy Press and the Mug Press and stuff like that. So if you want to buy multiple machines while you're there, definitely add those to your cart and use the code that's in the description below. All right, let's start with the Joy. We're going to start simple. The Joy is the smallest Cricut machine, as you can see. So the first thing I'm going to say, if you are limited on space at all, or if you're going to travel with your Cricut machine, the Joy is hands down the machine I recommend. Because of its size, there are some things it cannot do. The first thing it cannot do that I think is really important is it cannot do print then cut. A lot of people like to make like stickers with their Cricut machine, print them out with their printer, and then cut around them. The Joy cannot do that. So you can eliminate the Joy if you want to make anything with print then cut. The Joy also only has a fine point blade. So that limits the materials you can cut. So you can basically cut really thin materials. Think cardstock, vinyl, iron-on, that type of thing, and that type of thickness. You are limited on size with the Joy as well. So it's like about a 4.5 inch wide cut. Now, if you use the Smart Vinyl or Smart Iron-On, you can cut like up to 12 feet in length or something like that. So it does do long cuts as long as you use the Cricut Smart Vinyl. And you need the Smart Vinyl that is intended for the Joy for this machine. There are Smart Vinyls for the newest Explorer and Maker as well, so make sure you get the one for the Joy. Now, when we're talking about making cards, the Cricut Joy has a card mat. That cuts pre-folded cards. Now, why did they make that only for the Cricut Joy? Well, the Cricut Joy is so small in size that you couldn't fit a card that is completely laid out flat. So they had to come up with a way for you to make cards easily, and so that's the way they did it with the Joy. On the Explore or the Maker series, you can just make the cards like flat on the mat. So it's not really like a requirement for you to have the card mat. So you don't really necessarily, it's not like a drawback, but it is an extra feature of the Cricut Joy. It kind of makes card making super easy. So a lot of people like the Joy just for cards. So then let's talk about foiling. So I said that the Cricut Joy only takes the fine point blade. It also has a foiling tool. So you can add foil lines with the Cricut Joy. Now the Cricut Joy foiling tool is different from the one for the Explore and the Maker series. However, all of the machines now add foiling lines to your projects. Now, I have a video all about the Joy and like the details of it and where I cut like a ton of materials. So I'm going to link to that below. So if you're like, the Joy could possibly work for what I have in mind, head over there and start with that video and see if it truly does what you need it to do. If it doesn't, come back here, keep watching for the rest of the machines because you might need to step up to a larger and different machine. So now, the Joy's not for you, or you already have the Joy and you want to step up your Cricut game. Let's head to the Explore series. The Explore series right now, the latest machines on the market are the Cricut Explore Air 2 and the Explore 3. Let's start with the top one, which is the Cricut Explore Air 2. First of all, if you want machines in a ton of gorgeous colors, currently, as of the filming of this video, the Explore Air 2 is the only one that comes in all these great colors. So if you are looking for a machine to match your craft room, the Explore Air 2 might be for you. The original Maker comes in a few different like lid colors, but it's always in this white. The Explore Air 2, you can get two blades. So you can do the fine point blade and the deep point blade. That means you can go a little bit thicker. So think things like your magnet sheets and cork and like some leathers you could cut with it, some felts, that type of thing. So you're stepping up just a little bit in material when you go to the Explore. Now, it also steps up in width. So you can go up to 12 inches. Now the Explore Air 2, which is on top, the maximum size is like 11.5 inches wide by 23.5 inches long. And that's when you get the long mat. So there are two different mat sizes, one that's square and one that's like a rectangle that's long. So it does step up those mat sizes. Now, the Explore Air 2 has a dial where you can choose your material, but you can always flip the dial to custom, which is what I leave my dial on anyway. And you can choose from a wide range of materials in Cricut Design Space. The Explore Air 2 is also the last machine that has a cartridge slot. If you have those old cartridges from former machines before they were computerized, you need to sync them with Cricut Design Space. The Explore Air 2 is the last machine to have the cartridge slot to do that. Now, you can still link them if you have one of the newer machines. You just have to like call Cricut and do some other things. You can't link them yourself right with your machine. So it's not like you can't link them, but if that is like super important to you, you might want to consider the Cricut Explore Air 2. Now I mentioned the Cricut Joy doesn't do print and cut. The rest of these machines do print and cut. However, the Explore Air 2 is the only one that has the old version of the print and cut sensor. What does that mean? That means the Explore Air 2 can only do print and cut on white paper. So if you're foreseeing yourself doing a lot of print and cut and you want to do it on different colors of paper, I would skip the Explore Air 2 and at least move up to the Explore 3. All of these machines can accept pens and draw with pens right in your Cricut machine. Now I will say this, the Cricut Joy takes a different pen size and type than the other machines. So if you're thinking of starting out and you're going to buy a bunch of pens and you buy them all for your Joy, once you moved up to the Explore or the Maker series, those pens will not fit. So I did want to like squeeze that note in there just in case you are thinking about purchasing the Joy and you get a bunch of those pens and then can't use them later. The next thing when you move up from the Joy to the Explore series is you add scoring. So the Explore series uses a scoring stylus, which goes in the pen holder, and you can then score your paper and have those like fold lines super easily. So you can fold right on the line with precision, which I really love, especially for like cards and things like that. What's the difference between the Explore Air 2 and the Explore 3? Well, they're not like a ton of differences. However, so we already talked about how the Explore 3 has the upgraded print and cut sensor. So the Explore 3 will allow you to do print and cut on different colors of paper. The Explore 3 is actually faster, especially when you're cutting smart materials. So the Explore 3 accepts smart vinyl and smart iron-on, as well as smart sticker paper cardstock. Those materials you can cut without a mat, so it opens up the length. The width is basically the same, so I think it moves up to like 11.75 inches max width, but the length goes to like 20 feet or something. And then with the Explore 3, you can get an optional accessory, which is a holder for rolls. So you put the roll of smart vinyl or smart iron-on in here, and you can feed it into your Explore 3, and then you can cut your material right on a roll. No need for a mat, make those long cuts. Pretty amazing, right? Now, I have a video all about the Explore 3 that compares the Explore Air 2 to the Explore 3. So if you are at this point and you're like, the Explore does everything I want it to do. I just want to cut vinyl, iron-on, and cardstock, but I want that larger width. Which machine do I need, Angie? I will link to a video below that compares the Explore Air 2 to the Explore 3 in great detail, so you can tell which one of those two machines is right for you. So head down to the description, watch that video. If after watching that video you're like, okay, maybe I don't want the Explore series, maybe I want to spend the extra for the Maker, come back here and let's chat about the Maker. So for the Maker, you have two options, the Cricut Maker or the Maker 3. Wait a minute, didn't we skip a number? We did skip a number. So the Maker was the original Maker, the original release, and then they released the Explore 3 and the Maker 3 at the same time. So in order to keep them super consistent on numbering, they went ahead and skipped a number. So it's Maker or Maker 3. That's the two options you have. There wasn't any Maker 2. So first of all, when you upgrade from the Explore to the Maker series, what else do you get? You get quite a bit. So the Maker has a lot more cutting force than the Explore or the Joy. So you are stepping up in cutting force with each of these, right? So the Joy has less cutting force than the Explore. The Explore has less than the Maker. The Maker is a powerful machine. So you add all kinds of capabilities and materials. There are so many materials that you can cut with your Maker. I could never make a video on all of them, but you add quite a few blades as well. So first of all, everything the Explore can do, the Maker can do. Everything the Joy can do, the Explore can do, and the Maker can do. So the Maker is like the ultimate machine, right? It can do it all. So let's talk about the blades first of all. So it still takes the fine point blade, the deep point blade, and the foil tool, just like the Explore series. You can also use your scoring stylus in the Maker, but there's also a scoring wheel with this. So single and double. So if you've worked with paper a lot and you have a lot of trouble with cracking on your fold lines on like foiled paper, double scoring is definitely for you, and you can do that in the Maker. So the Maker has this adaptive tool system that's really amazing and unique, and it has a rotary blade. It's the first blade we're going to talk about, and one of my favorites. So the rotary blade opens up a ton of fabric cutting options. So if you've ever used a rotary cutter for fabric like handheld, it's sort of that, but in mini size. So you can cut tons of fabric with your Maker. There are so many fabric options, and it cuts it really well, like perfectly. So if you've ever wanted to cut like shapes and designs out of fabric, the Maker is definitely for you. So I have cut fabric with both my Explore and the Joy, but only if it has a backing on the back. So you need to put interfacing on the back to make the fabric basically stiff, and then the Explore will cut it. And I have cut it with my Joy, even though they don't even say you can do that. I have done it before. However, the rotary blade on the Maker is 100% the way I cut fabric, whether it has interfacing on the back or not. I grab my Maker every time I want to cut any fabric at all. It's hands down a way better way to cut fabric and fabric-like materials even. So that's my first blade that I love for the Maker. The second blade that I love for the Maker is the knife blade. So think of it as like the craft knife or X-Acto knife that you use for your craft projects, but for a cutting machine. It is simply amazing, allows you to cut wood, chipboard, super thick materials easily. I use it for leather a lot, even though like they say you can cut leather with the Explore Air 2. I do not like to do that. I'll cut faux leather with the Explore Air 2. Real leather, I grab my Maker every single time. That knife blade opens up tons of thick materials. So you've like opened up first your fabrics, then you opened up thick materials with that knife blade. So all of a sudden the Maker cuts way more materials than the Explore series. So what I always say is, if you think that once you get a machine that you're going to want to cut all the things, just get the Maker the first time right out of the gate. It is a more complicated machine. It does have a ton more blades, but you're going to be happier in the long run that you don't have to upgrade later on. So you're gonna get the Explore Air 2. You're gonna love it for a while because all you're cutting is vinyl, and then you see an amazing wood project on Pinterest that says it's made with the Maker. You click over and you can only make it with the Maker. All you have is Explore Air 2, and you're gonna be a little bit sad. So I always recommend thinking about the crafter you are today and the crafter you are going to be in the future, and seeing if you can afford it now, maybe the Maker is the way to go. So we talked about the rotary blade, we talked about the knife blade. What other blades are for the Maker? My third favorite blade is the engraving tip. So there's one housing called the Quick Swap housing, has several different tips, and one of those is the engraving tip. I love, love, love engraving metal, all types of metal with my Maker. I've done several videos here on YouTube. You might have caught some of them. It's definitely the only way, in my opinion, to engrave metal is with your Maker machine. And I hope to open up a whole wide world of possibilities with engraving metal on my Maker machine with future videos as well. And then other tips you have. You have the deboss tip, you have a perforated tip, and you have a wavy blade. So deboss is like debossing into like cardstock. Perforated is making a perforated line. And then the wavy blade makes a wavy line. I use those 3 tips way less than I use the other ones. Not saying that everyone does. Perhaps like the deboss is going to be the one that you love. But those 3 tips are only available for the Maker. You cannot use them on the Explore. So remember, with the Explore, you can only use the fine point blade, the deep point blade, the foil tool. And they do make a fabric blade. Technically, it's the fine point blade in a pink housing. I'll just go ahead and add that just in case you see that somewhere. But that's what you can use with the Explore. When you move up to the Maker, you move up to all of those other blades I talked about. The rotary blade, the knife blade, the engraving tip, and then those other tips like the scoring and the deboss. Now, the Maker has that upgraded print and cut sensor, so you can print and cut on different colors of cardstock or paper or whatever. So it also has that functionality. So the Maker has the same size restrictions as the Explore Air 2. So it's going to be an 11.5 inch wide restriction and then 23.5 inches long with that long mat. When you move up to the Maker 3, that's when it opens up that length. So again, the width is like 11.75 inches, but the length is like 20 feet or something, similar to the Explore 3. Again, the Maker 3 accepts that roll holder, so you can cut rolls of material without a mat, and you will need to use the Cricut Smart Vinyl or Cricut Smart Iron-On or Cricut Smart Paper Cardstock to cut without a mat on your Maker 3. It is faster when you cut those smart materials. I do find that the Maker 3 and the Explore 3 are a bit quieter, as well as slightly faster when cutting other materials on a mat. They don't advertise that, but it does. The head moves a little faster, so I do think my cuts are a little faster with these machines, but it's like way faster when you're cutting Smart Vinyl or Smart Iron-On. Like this, the difference is very dramatic. So if you want to see more about the difference, like you're like, okay, I'm sold, Angie, the Maker's for me. If you want to see more of the difference between the Maker and the Maker 3, so you can make your decision there, head to the description below and I will drop a video. And then you can like get detailed descriptions of how both these work and actually see them in action cutting against one another, so you can make a decision on which one is going to be right for you. Okay, so that's a ton of information. We talked about 5 total machines, tons of information to digest, but hopefully that helps you at least begin to decide which Cricut machine might be right for you. You can go with the Joy and keep it simple. I do think the Joy is a great starter machine, I will say that. So if you are super intimidated by a Cricut machine and you're just like, I'm super scared, I want to get into Cricut crafting, but I'm scared to jump in, the Joy is a great place to start. It's simple, it only has the one blade plus the foil tip, like it's just easy, simple to use, and it's a great machine to start out on. I will warn you, if you get the Joy, it's sort of like an introduction into the Cricut world. And once you get introduced to it, you will want to move up. So I always find that people with the Cricut Joy always end up with one of the other machines. So I'll just warn you there. But if you want to get started with Cricut crafting and are intimidated, the Cricut Joy is a great and affordable option. And it's super simple, so it's easy to get started. As you move up, the machines do get more complicated. I will warn you there. So with the Cricut Explore series, you're a little more complicated than the Cricut Joy, but still pretty simple. But when you move up to the Maker, there's so many options, so many blades, so many tools, so many materials, many people feel overwhelmed. But once you get used to it, you learn your machine, you'll really, really love your maker. So how do you learn your machine? I'm going to drop a few links below. The first link is going to be for a free 7-day Cricut class that I have. Sign up when you get your machine and start with day 1, work through day 7. I think that will answer most of your questions. If you're the type of person that doesn't have 7 days, I have a 1-hour crash course. So I tried to fit all the information I could into 1 hour, and I will link that below as well. So 1 hour of information that hopefully helps you tackle your Cricut problems. I will also drop a link below to a video about Cricut materials. If you have any questions about any Cricut material and which machine cuts what, that's the video for you. So if you are saying to yourself, Angie didn't talk about what's the material I didn't talk about. I didn't talk about infusible ink. So if you're saying to yourself, I did not talk about infusible ink in this video, which of these machines cuts infusible ink? That video will answer it for you. So head down to the description below, click on the Cricut materials video, and it will answer all your questions about all of the materials. So hopefully that helps you. If it did, give us a thumbs up. Again, if you have any questions about anything we covered or your particular situation and which Cricut machine you need, drop down in the comment section, ask away. I'll even talk about like upgrading. Do you have the Explore Air 2? Should you buy the Maker 3? Drop down in the comment section and ask me, and I'll definitely walk you through it. If you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos like this all the time, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. Especially if you're a Cricut beginner, you won't want to miss our Cricut videos. So thank y'all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.